Okay. Harriet Green, thank you so much for joining me on this very special podcast. It's normally called Decoding Calm in 15 minutes, and it's still very much along this theme of senior leaders, how they deal with the most stressful jobs, how do they perform at the highest levels, and what I guess the ultimate question that comes from that is how do you put yourself in a position to do that? How do you put yourself in the position to be the happiest, healthiest, high performing CEO? And you don't even need to be a CEO, right? Whoever's watching this, whatever
Mm.
level of any organization they're in. But I'm sure people know who you are. You and I met at IBM where you had a huge job in Asia. Um, chair of CEO of Thomas Cook too. Your CV goes on a mile, but you've just come back from doing something very special. I think just about a month ago. So let me pause there and say, what have you been up to? And that will lead us nicely into discussion.
Well, I really wanted to talk about what I've been up to with you, Steve, because I think the work that you do to try and translate this and make it relevant to people in their daily lives is important. So I am back from a 2 week silent Buddhist meditation in Chiang Mai in Thailand, quite remote, the Lanang Meditation Center, which was totally silent, no devices, no books, no external stimuli, totally in Thai. I did have help with some of the translation, and it was about 62 hours of meditation itself, following the Buddhist meditation philosophy, and then about 50 hours of Buddhist faith uh, 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 teachings, education, etc. So quite a big gig, quite a big change, a lot of learnings for me, Steve.
And how did you get on that? Because you were the first Western female to go on that. Is that right?
Yes, yeah.
So how did this
So
opportunity
I
come up?
think, yeah, so a couple, I think you know that I've lived and worked in Asia a lot, not just
Yeah.
running IBM's businesses, but and we have a home and a school. We started a school here in Thailand, and a couple of Thais who know me quite well said, you know, Thai people, Buddhists, go regularly to meditate and to have silent retreats. And they said, you should come along. And I said, really? Why? I don't, my conversational Thai is fine, but it's not good enough to be taking instructions about the body and about the mind. And, I haven't done very much real hardcore meditation. I don't think so. Why do you think so? And they said, and I had this from different people. First of all, your karma is very, very Thai. So the Buddhists believe that we have had multiple lives and that our karma is a collection of our gamma, our actions. And they felt that I had good enough karma to participate in this very Asian event. And secondly, a number of them said, you have very strong jhana. And are the various levels of concentration that one applies to things. So I trust particularly Kun Sirapon, one of my friends here. And so I said, okay, I'll do it. And so I went with her. Of course, I wasn't able to talk to her for 2 whole weeks, but she was there. And I was taken under the wing of the master, Longpur, because indeed my karma and my jhana was such that I was very quickly able to embrace, 5, 6, 7 hours of meditation a day, in quite a institutionalized, shall we say, regime, getting up at 3, bringing yourself into the whole slowness of intention, intend rising, intend walking, slowing everything down. First meditation at 4 a.m. with the monks, breakfast at 6:30, and then lunch at 10:30. And then that that's it, about a 20-hour fast for the rest of the day. And then in the evening, really immersed in Dharma talks and learning the Buddhist faith, as it were, because Buddhism has two parts. The philosophy, which in essence is the meditation that any one of us can embrace. And the second is the religion, which is a very big leap of faith to embrace, I think, the Buddhist faith.
So I'm going to play devil's advocate in this podcast.
Hmm.
And I'm sitting here imagining myself to be a extremely busy, extremely cynical, macho CEO. I'll play the male just because it fits, I suppose. That sounds really hard, what you just said. Getting up at 3, meditating for long periods of sitting in silence or standing in silence or walking in silence. My instant reaction to that as a cynical, I'm trying to put the part of my brain that understands what meditation and mindfulness are to one side for a second. The cynical macho part of my brain thinks, that sounds like a horrendous boot camp. That sounds like alarms going off when I think, oh my God, it's the middle of the night. Not being able to talk to someone. Oh, maybe scary. Being alone with my own thoughts for all that time. That's weird. Would I be able to handle it? What would so I would immediately kind of think I'm not necessarily drawn to that. So before I even would think about what the outcomes may be, and I'm sure we'll get to loads that you are experiencing, how would you kind of address that? The people that think, God, that doesn't.
Yeah.
I'd rather go to Koh Samui for 2 weeks, Harriet, and lie on a beach and drink pina coladas
Yeah.
and
Well, I
sunbathe.
don't think it's any harder than what people normally do for a living. I mean, you have no external stimuli. There's no phones, no PCs, no one badgering you or bothering you or expecting you to hold court. It is an extraordinary period of just focusing on your own mind and your own body. So, of course, the first 3 days are like, what on earth am I doing here? You know, simple things like I'd forgotten that the last time I was in Chiang Mai, which is only a couple of years ago, I was cycling. It's pretty chilly in Chiang Mai at 4 in the morning. In fact, it's like 3 degrees. So
Wow.
I didn't have enough clothes and it was pretty chilly. You know, it's a whole new environment. But actually, all you are doing is the privilege of focusing on yourself for that period of time. And after 3 days, you know, like most things, human beings are amazingly adaptable. Because we are going to talk about the benefits of doing this, it's actually nowhere near as hard as being a CEO of and transforming a business or a school, going through a dramatic change or whatever it is that people are involved in. I don't think it is any harder than that because you are totally focused on yourself, not on the whole of the outside world and all the things that are grabbing your time, your attention, your mental energies. It is a privilege to do it, no question. And, you know, I didn't know if I would be able to and whether the benefits would outweigh the slight discomfort. But that's all we're talking about, slight discomfort. We're not talking about being imprisoned, being starved, it is something that you can adapt to. And when we talk about what it gives you in return that you can take forward into your life, I wish I'd found the time to do it in my 30s, 40s, 50s, and certainly when I started my transition from CEO and executive work into my sort of third age. So, but it does take a leap of faith
Yeah.
to go there to do it. And the
Yeah.
first 3 days, you know, you're sort of if there was a mirror in the bathroom, you'd be looking at it, but you're sort of thinking, what on earth are you doing? But
Yeah.
soon that becomes clear what you're doing.
So I'm sure everyone can relate to that, right? Let me try and make this a real basic example. So you talked about discomfort to start with, first 3 days, discomfort. I'm imagining boredom, restlessness, irritation. What am I doing here? I haven't got the right clothes. God, how much more longer I've got to sit with this? I normally only sit for 10 minutes in the morning, whatever the mind says, right? I'm sure the mind can come up with a million objections in that moment. But this whole discomfort to growth thing is the only way that we deepen as human beings, isn't it? And let me make a real, if I'm playing the macho man today, all any man watching this that's done any level of exercise, if that's kind of their thing, will know that if you want to get physically stronger, whether it's better at cycling, running, rowing, lifting heavy weights, whatever, you've got to put your body through some level of discomfort to do that. If I've never cycled 55K and I jump on a bike today, it hurts when I'm doing it. I'm very tired. My God, it hurts the next day and the day after that because all my muscles are so. But there's this kind of building, there's this depth. We challenge our bodies and minds, and that's the only way really to deepen, to evolve, I think, as a person, and to kind of get to that next level. So whether that's physically, I think men are good at understanding the physical challenge, right? Especially
Yeah.
if they go and lift heavy things and go and race around things. But when it comes to their mind, we almost that's almost something separate. Like, oh, well, with the mind, I shouldn't have to do anything with my mental health. My mental health should just take care of itself. And if I need to look after that, it must make me a weaker person. So we won't necessarily go too much into that macho side today. But so after 3 days, so 3 days into the 14, after the
Yeah.
first 3 days, did the mind start to settle? Did the mind start to object less to what was going on, complain about the cold less, surrender
Yeah.
more to
So
just this moment?
the training and the kind of one-on-ones with the masters, it's how, so the reason that the Buddhist philosophy, the meditation is so very popular, even in non-Buddhist countries, is that it teaches your mind to be able to detach, not manage, not eradicate, but to detach from the pain that you may be feeling in your body, that you may be feeling in your soul. So by focusing on yourself, by focusing on the walking meditation, focusing on yourself, not on the myriad of other things that distract you in any given day, slowly but surely, you begin to contain your energies and to use those energies to clear your mind, to help with any pain that you may have. And, you know, by day 6, you're looking forward to the effects of the clarity, the quiet thinking. Things begin, the unimportant things begin to dissipate. The important things begin to rise to the top. And you've slowed everything down. You're walking, your hour and a half chewing. Everything is focused around your mind detaching from the rigors of your body. And the effects are quite remarkable. The combination of all of that, plus no phones, no books, no external stimuli, your memory begins to improve quite significantly because you've sort of unblocked the
Yeah.
pipe. As you know, we've discussed this before, I'm not a big sleeper, and I didn't suddenly become a big sleeper, but the quality of the sleep, not the quantity in my case, but the quality as your mind is cleared. You know, the Buddhists believe that you maybe connect with prior lives. I'm not sure I did, but I certainly had a quality of sleep that I've not had before. And you can, without, you know, huge amounts of time, you can recreate these benefits on a daily basis. And that was my big thing. You know, this is great to do this for, you know, 15 days, in this idyllic place, in this surreal surroundings, but how do I get benefit when I go home?
Yes, exactly. So you put that really nicely there. I'm going to try and describe it just another way because what I've found helpful as I've taught this over the years is if is people will find the hook that works for them and the thing that
Yeah.
resonates with them. So I remember one of the greatest things I ever heard an American mindfulness teacher, a guy called John Kabat-Zinn, who brought mindfulness to the
Hmm.
West. He said this. So you were just talking here really about, and when I teach, I kind of describe it this way. So if we exist on for most people, we exist on the level of thought, right? If this is the
Mm-hmm.
normal state of existing as a human being, we're doing a lot of thinking all the time. Often it's incessant thinking, right? Now we are able to kind of access another dimension of consciousness, if you're comfortable with those words, which allows you to see the thoughts, right? So the awareness of the thought isn't the thought, and the awareness that sees the thought, if they've kind of got thinking here and we've got awareness here, awareness can see the thoughts, right? And this is a radical thing. I heard Andy Puddicombe of Headspace describe it like
Yep.
this. I'm trying to make it very sort of mainstream for people. He said the awareness of a thought is it's like the difference between a storm happening and you being out in the storm getting very, very wet and watching the storm from your house where you're warm and cozy and safe. The storm's still happening. The dark thoughts, well, if they are dark thoughts, let's just use that as
Yes.
an example. They're still happening, right? But where you are in relation to that is huge, is everything. If you're totally consumed by it, people that are consumed by anxiety and depression, there is no separation between that thought and the emotion that comes with it, right? But people who spend enough time practicing this, you're right. We develop this ability to see these things. So the anxious thought doesn't become you, it becomes something which you can see, observe, witness, watch.
Absolutely.
And the beautiful quote that John Kabat-Zinn said was, the awareness of anxiety isn't anxious. The awareness of sadness isn't sad. Why is that the
Yeah.
greatest quote, one of the greatest quotes of all time? Because if you can dwell more in that place of the awareness of these things rather than being so consumed by them, that which observes them isn't isn't affected by them. It watches them, it sees them. So you've got a load of anxiety, anxious thoughts, anxious emotion, but you've got the awareness that sees it. And the awareness that sees it isn't anxious. The awareness that sees it isn't sad. And
Yeah.
it's really hard. It's very easy to say these things, and it takes a lot of practice and effort to kind of even
Yes.
start to taste it. But I think that's what you're touching on there. There's this.
Absolutely. And I can give you two little practical stories, very to in my simple way. So everything is slowed down. You think about, I'm intending to move into the shower. I'm going to shower. I'm showering. You're thinking with a mindfulness on what you're doing. And in the first 3 days, I was really not happy that I was having cold showers. And it was already cold, and I'm in Thailand, and I hate cold showers. And on the fourth day, when we are really being helped to slow everything down, I get to the shower and I intend to turn the little basic knob. And I thought, that's most strange. This shower is anti-clockwise to turn on. That's unusual. So I turned it slowly and the water came out warm. So I had been so fast in my do the shower, turn it on,
Oh,
blah, blah,
wow.
blah, cold shower. And then just slowing everything down,
Hmm.
thinking about, wow, that's interesting. The shower is the other way, just doing it slowly. The hot came out first on the anti-clockwise turn. And the second one was about the sixth day. The food you ate at 6:30 in the morning, and you ate from a little buffet at all in silence, all chewing at 10:30. And one day they had a bowl of oranges. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. Oh, I don't really eat oranges anyway, do I? And I said to myself, what do you mean you don't eat oranges? He said, well, they just take so long to peel, and then you have to get all the pith off, and you've never got time. And then I said to myself, hey, you have 2.5 hours to peel this orange, take the pith off, and enjoy it. And those are practical stories of what happens when you slow down
mm,
and you let this is mindfulness. This is meditation in action, but
yeah.
we would call it mindfulness. And so the practical application of slowing everything down and thinking about exactly what you're doing, not the 55,000 other things that I obviously think about when I'm in the shower or when I don't have an orange. And I think that the benefits on the brain and the body, certainly when I finished the program, and then the after effects were quite startling to me.
Mm. I'm sure you've seen recently in the news. So Chris Hoy, if any of those of you don't know, one of GB's greatest ever cyclist, Olympian, blah, blah, blah. Sadly been diagnosed with terminal cancer. I think it's stage 4 prostate
Yeah.
cancer. And and his reaction to it's been quite remarkable. He's living like a Zen master. He's just
Yeah.
in this moment. There is no past. There's no future. There's no his future's been taken away. And when that happens to somebody, they go one of two ways. And hopefully they just exist in this moment because they realize this is the only thing that ever. The reason I bring him up is I got a sense when you were sort of talking earlier that, and I was discussing this with other people. Um, Almost the lucky people in life, and I don't want to use lucky and Chris in the same sentence because that doesn't seem right. But I think the lucky people in life suffer to a point where they realize what's really important here now. It's some people live their lives thinking, oh, if I just make another $500,000, I'll be happy. If I just get that mansion, if I just get that car, if I just and they die trying kind of thing. And they think, oh, if I'd have just got there, that would have been the thing that fulfilled me. That would have been the thing. We see plenty of people all over the world that get these things, and there are many tragic stories. People like Matthew Perry have got millions and fame and everything else, who realize that getting all these material things doesn't fill that
Mm.
insatiable hunger in you for whatever it is. And almost the people that seem happiest. There was a famous one of the hairy bikers, which are two chefs in England as well. It happened to him. He died of cancer, I think, maybe a year or two ago, and he just seemed so full of life when he got his diagnosis and after. It was like it's like a huge weight had been lifted, Harriet, and they're like,
Mm.
oh, this is what's important. This is the key to life. It's being here in this moment. And it doesn't matter whether I'm here for 2, 5, 10, 50 more years. If I'm just in this moment, that's good enough. And I'm here, and,
Yeah.
and it's what it is. Do you think going into this retreat gave yourself a similar kind of experience to people that have, that kind of really sharpens your focus on what's truly important in your life and how
Yeah,
to
I
live it?
think I think the learning this methodology, a way of sitting and walking and thinking in a very free flowing way, what is important rises to the top. And I think that the ability to, you certainly, there's so many things that create agita and block and worry and anxiety, as you've already talked about. And I certainly felt, well, it was very interesting when I returned for the following 4 days. It was really strange. I was like, every single sense, smell, sound, sight, everything was like uber. I was ultra sensitized.
Yeah,
I think,
heightened. Yeah.
I'm not really a crier. I'm not a woman who breaks down into floods of tears easily. On my second day returning to normal life, a turtle, a grandchild, it was as if your entire being had been given a massive clarification, a massive sort of boost, so that you were, very, very sensitized. The second thing, definitely clearer. What's important is clearer. The things that simply are not important. I give you an example. I finished my memoir. I'm not really happy with the world of publishing. And it had been really getting to me that they want to change what happened. And I came back from the retreat and thought, it doesn't really matter. You can publish it yourself. Why are you giving this another moment's thought? What's important is health, is your well-being, definitely looser. You know, it's as if the tanglements in your body and your mind have been the shackles, perhaps, or the restrictions, or the I have to do this, I have to do it by this time, I have to have gotten all this done, I have to focus on these things. But interestingly, in meditation, your ability to concentrate, my Thai friends were right. My karma made me adapt to the Thai way of doing this very easily. And my jhana, my ability to concentrate, meant that very quickly I was getting deeply into the meditation. And after a week of being at the retreat, there are 3 things that I'm now doing that, you know, really, I think are life-changing. I've always done physical exercise. I do my yoga. I think you would probably say of the CEOs that you've met, I'm more open to new things, to new ways of thinking, etc. But now I am consciously applying the meditation in normal everyday life. You know, slowing things down as I empty a fridge, as I spend time with the grandchildren, you know, calmer and slower and fewer things done deeper and better. Any one of us can do that, which is a form of thinking more deeply about what you're doing yourself and what you're doing with others. Secondly is the somewhat infamous Buddhist code, which is their awareness filter, which is what I'm about to say or do or write. Is it true? Is it in any way helpful? That could be helpful to yourself to say it, helpful to someone else. And can it be framed kindly? That doesn't mean you lose firmness. You know, you can still be firm, but you don't have to be harsh and aggressive and sharp and cynical. So applying that awareness filter, which I think I've been doing a long time, having lived in this neck of the woods, and then looking forward to, almost like it's a bit of a drug, which obviously the neuroscientists will tell you it is, sitting and doing. It doesn't matter whether it's 10 minutes or 40 minutes of walking and sitting meditation, where you just, in walking meditation, you have to concentrate very carefully on the intend rising, rise your foot, intend moving, move your foot, intend treading and tread your foot. Do that for 40 minutes. That's all you can think about. The sitting meditation is only listening and watching your body rising and falling. And you can think about anything and everything and all the rubbish, all the tension, all the, am I a good grandparent? Will they remember me? All these things, they just disappear. And what comes to the surface are the really important things to this being and to the beings closest to me. And I think if I had done that if I'd done it in my 20s, I would have been a much happier 20-year-old. If I'd done it in my 30s, I would have been much less frenetic and hyper and living on the edge so much. And I think I certainly am beginning to think about a program, you know, maybe you and I will work together on one of them where, you know, teams, I know that teams can't do 2 weeks away, no phone contact, no email, but you can probably do 3 days. And how that refresh, how that reset, how the clarification of the neural pathways, how that helps your clarity, your strategic thought, your ability to problem solve. And certainly I wish, as I had left, full-time CEO and chairmanship at IBM Asia Pac, if I had done this then, I wouldn't have spent, I know I had COVID, etc., trying to recreate being a CEO, but in other things. I'd have approached it totally differently from my body and my mind outwards rather than the other way around. So I think it's life-changing for me.
I've no doubt. I've no doubt. Why didn't it happen when you were in your 20s or 30s or 40s? Why didn't it happen then? Do you know?
I think yes. And I think this is why what you do is so important. I don't think people, particularly in the fast track of that top tier of whatever it is, business people, educationalists, entrepreneurs, I don't think that people think that caring for their mind in this way is as important as being physically fit. I learned to be fit in my 20s, but there wasn't enough around about meditation, mindfulness, etc. And then, you get into a way of believing that what you do for yourself, look how healthy I am, I don't carry any spare weight. I work 20 hours out of 24. I'm highly successful. I've managed to maintain a relationship, and, you begin to apply false factors and filters to your success. And it is only because of me listening to Buddhists, and I have to say at this point, Steve, I think I will continue to practice the Buddhist methodology of meditation. I think it's highly unlikely that I will be able to make the huge leap to their faith. Right. But, in total, 4 devout Buddhists felt that I would get something from this, that I have been here before.
Yeah.
I don't know whether that's true. It's not really relevant, to this discussion. But the timing, was right. And I was open to it. You have to be open. There's a reason, I guess, that I spend 5 months out of the 12 in Thailand. Some of it's to do with the school and the community, but a lot is to do with the way people live, the way I want to live. But I hope that between us, you and I can, help more people see that this is sort of like a boot camp before you start going regularly to the gym. It doesn't have to be 2 weeks, but it does have to be enough time. One of the funniest things that will make you smile, I've been a Vodafone customer for a very long time. And I don't think really, since I've been a customer of Vodafone's and served them at IBM, I've switched my phone off for 15 days. And Vodafone had prioritized their messages back to me to really question whether I'd passed from this earth, whether I was okay, and what the goddamn was happening in that I hadn't been using my phone. So, it's kind of extraordinary how when you reflect on that, how in one form or another, 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 2 weeks, is that so much? I did the math. I mean, you're a very numerate techie person, but I worked out that even if I live to 100 and I do meditation now every day, and with this 2-week retreat, it will only be 5% of my whole life that I will have been focused on making my mind, my calmness, and a methodology to just slow me all down so that I'm looser, calmer, and happier. And part of the happiness is that that you can manage the shit that flies at you, because life throws stuff at you.
Yeah.
Whether that's throat cancer, whether it's acute, prostate cancer, that you can, by working with your mind, cope with most things, I think.
I like that so I'm back to my sort of cynical macho. So we're not, if you're a Buddhist, fantastic. If you have any sort of faith, fantastic. I don't think anything I teach that you've experienced kind of makes that a prerequisite or rubbishes it either, right?
No.
It's whether that's something for you or not is great. So what would you say to, if I'm a CEO watching this and I think, do you know what, I respect Harriet and I will listen to Harriet because she hasn't just been meditating in the cave since she was 18. She knows what it's like to run big companies. She knows what it's like to be a CEO for many, many years. So that gives you that level of respect where people will say, I will pay attention to her because she's walked the path I'm on, right? I'm a CEO in the midst of my career or whatever. But what would you suggest? What would you say to the person that says, you know, I'd love to do it? And I hear what she's saying about the clarity of thought and focus in the boardroom and less mistakes and access to the parts of my brain I need when I'm under pressure and better quality sleep and more rested mind. Who doesn't want all these things, right? Whether you're making decisions in the boardroom or not, we all want the outcomes of what you're talking about. But they're still stuck at this thing of thinking, oh, but Harry, I just don't have time for it. Honestly, you know what it's like to have a diary that starts at 7 o'clock in the morning, don't finish till 10 o'clock at night. And then I've got to sort the kids out, and then I've got parents that I've got to care for, and I've got a dog that needs walking, and the list is endless, right? So
Yeah.
and you already said, you know, you don't have to go for 2 weeks. You can drop it right back to a lot
Yeah.
less than that.
2, 3 days. Yeah.
Yeah. So what
I
would
think
you?
I think I think the advice I would give is, I mean, first of all, I don't think, this is not, 1482. People do have vacations. It's about choices. And I don't think this chunk of time, whether it's 3 days, a week, 2 weeks, it's not like you're taking yourself off for 6 months where you probably lose, your relationships and your job. So the first thing that I did, because I thought 15 days was huge, offline, you know, banking, administration. I'm supporting 6 charities. I have my elderly mother. I have grandchildren. So the first thing I did was, and I think my advice would be, is who could help you during that period? Let's say for uh, this question, say it was 4 days that you took a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and a Monday, no phone, no interruptions. Is there someone that you trust enough that you can leave on email or somewhere, if this is absolutely breathtakingly urgent, and all of these places, even me at this retreat, if my mother had passed or something like that, you can be reached. So this is not prison. I mean, it
Yeah.
isn't in prison, So, but is there someone that, can help you deal with the fact that you're going to be offline, could maybe, if a big transaction comes through, mobile banking. So some personal help to just manage your life for 4 or 5 days. And most of us, if you haven't got that, then that's telling you something in its own right. And then I think having, by talking to, in my case, the charities, the fundraisers, my school, your job, it's 4 days. And saying to your direct reports and your boss, I am going to be totally offline. I'm going to learn, how to meditate so that I am clearer, looser, that my memory is improved. This is an investment in my mind and thus my body. And how do you feel about that? Would that be okay that I take 2 days vacation and a weekend to do it? And when you start to break it down like that, I became a little bit embarrassed that I was so like, who do you think you are, Harriet? That you're so important in the lives of so many people that you can't go for 15 days. If something happened, I knew that our youngest Gemma would contact, or my husband, guess what? Neither of them needed to. Everyone flourished. Yes, I had 1,084 emails, despite me putting an out of office and me no longer running day-to-day a business. And I had hundreds and hundreds of WhatsApps, mostly people saying, what was it like? But the world didn't lose gravity and it didn't come off its axis. And I got the type of peace and focus. I have never in my whole life, spent 2 weeks just focused on me. And I think if someone can't find, it doesn't have to be 2 weeks, the time to start that, then the question you have to ask yourself is, have you become a slave? A slave to something? Are you really your own master anymore? Because your mind will say a million things to you. Oh, for goodness sake. I mean, I do yoga and, I'm perfectly sane. I mean, but I can tell you, as someone that has, as you say, Steve, walked the path, done the cadence, had 17 weeks to live at Thomas Cook. My memoir is coming out soon. I have done some of the toughest jobs out there. And this has made me stronger and better. And I wish I'd done it sooner. And all the ridiculous excuses I came up with are ego and id, which the Buddhist meditation teach you how to subjugate whilst you focus on what's important in your body, like how things are flowing and how you're feeling and how you release your tension and anxiety in the way that you described earlier, Steve.
That's really nice. I think that one of the eternal questions is, oh, I wish I'd done this earlier. I wish I'd started meditating. Somebody said that to me, do you wish you'd started teaching this stuff earlier? And I've actually come to a place where I think, for me personally, Harriet, that I couldn't have done it earlier. It's very easy to wish, if you get to a place where you start to experience a little bit more pain, oh God, why didn't I do that? There was a certain amount of suffering, quite a lot actually, that I had to go through to push me to a point to stop identifying so much with ego, to think, God, that I've had enough of suffering. I've got to seek something else. And if I hadn't gone through that, which it took my 20s, 30s to go through it, to get to a point where I go, God, I need. So, I wonder if this was the right time for you.
It's a very good point. I think it's a very perceptive. You're clearly on the wavelength. When you ask me, this came about because I'm in a Buddhist country, and the Buddhist methodology for meditation is very structured and it's a process, and I like really good processes. There are many ways to approach it, as you know. But a number of people I respect and trust said, we think your karma and your jhana are right. And the place and the master who took me under his wing as someone who, in their thinking, has been here before. And so, maybe it happens when it happens because the time is right because of what you've been through. Maybe when you're resisting it and maybe when you're suffering and experiencing, as you did, or in my case, a slight feeling, the day I decided that I would do it was the day that I thought, I don't know really what the problem is. I should just do what this headhunter is suggesting and go and become the next chairman of the BBC. That's what I need to do. I need to do a big job. I need to fill every available hour again. Of course, that's not what I need to do. The BBC doesn't need me. There are many very capable people who are and can do that work. It's not about filling the void and doing more of the same. It's about finding a way to channel your energies in a better, more positive way so that you're calmer, looser, and happier.
Lovely. I said to you, I think we're close here, but I said to you right at the start, I hadn't pressed record by then, but I said, you look well. You do it. I can really feel that this has been such a nice thing for you. And it's I suppose one thing just to quickly put in, it's not always easy, right? Some people think that when you go on a especially on a silent retreat, that it's like going on a spa day, where you book into this beautiful hotel and everything's a massage and everything's lovely.
Oh my God. This,
It's
this,
difficult, isn't it? Right? The mind will challenge you. The mind will challenge you with difficult thoughts
but
and
also
unpleasant.
yeah, physically, I mean, the Thais
Yeah,
believe the 20-hour fast. I slept
yeah.
on a bed that was an inch.
Mm,
I got a little louse that buried into my head, and I had an infection. And I also suffered from what they call piti, which is after an hour or so of meditation, your body physically goes into a sort of rapture and you get shakes and swaying. It's physically, if you do it right, it's quite traumatic.
yeah.
So it wasn't easy,
No.
but mentally, I'm a different person.
Yeah.
And, I think it's worth talking about that. And I'm so chuffed that I thought about you actually when I was doing the meditation. And I thought, I have to talk to someone when I finish who understands this, who knows at least, 75% of what I'm talking about, not in the Buddhist sense, but in the mindfulness sense. And I've really valued your questions and your interest in this. I think there's a lot more we can do here.
Yeah. Well, I love what's sort of becoming your mission, which is to because you're an important ally, I think, Harriet,
Hmm.
because you've done the jobs and because you've done the difficult things, I think it opens up an audience that some people can't reach.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing your experience. It's been really lovely
Thank
to
you.
hear from you. Thanks so much for joining me again
That's a
on
great
this
pleasure.
podcast. Thank you.